that is going very viral. I even posted about it on my Twitter page, and I spoke about Keefe D and how he's been self-snitching for years now. And they finally went forward with arresting him. But this live stream, we're going to talk about Diddy and why Diddy may be in trouble as well, because Diddy may be the person who, in fact, put Keefe D up to it. Now, we don't know if that's the story yet, but again, if he starts talking and point directly to Diddy, because from what I understand, this guy kept trophies from what happened to Tupac. That's what they literally said. They said he kept trophies from that particular incident. Now, people are saying that it was Orlando Anderson that pulled the trigger, but Keefe D was the one that put him up to it because Orlando Anderson was his nephew. But we're going to get into it. Salute to everybody that's here. Moderators, channel members. Listen, if you want to become a member of the channel, the Chat Elite, make sure y'all click that join button, man. Join the Chat Elite. Show support for the channel. All right. All right, let's see who's here. Trill, Roland, Slim, South, Steven, Chastity, Thomas, Angel, Brian, Turner. Then you got Brian Moore, Calvin, Keith. We building over here. Rising Animator, Boot Camp, Gloria Rivera, Ryan, Nightingale, A Willie, A Goddess Knave, Antonio, Dion Giddens, what's up? Ryuga, what's good? You know, one of the things that get a lot of these black men locked up the most is when they tell on themselves. A lot of these guys can't help themselves. They think they got away with it. Orlando Anderson has been dead since, 99? So people may have thought that, he may have thought that since he didn't pull the trigger, that he would never go to prison for this. But Keefe found out the hard way that there is, this was still an unsolved case. Still unsolved. So he's going around, he's doing interviews, he's on DJ Vlad, giving all these details. The self-snitching will always get you males caught up. What's good, Denise E? Killer Psy. Hold on a second. I want to make sure that everybody is notified that I'm live. You dig? This is why I say, when people go on these podcasts, I don't know what it is, but people go on these podcasts and they just start spilling their guts, man. I guess because they're naturally boring people with no personality, they have to put things out here that may incriminate them. Maybe they don't care about the incrimination. I mean, you should. But maybe these guys don't care. Jean Marie, what's up? Shout out to all my Jamaicans. Eric, what's good? $92, what's up? Make sure y'all like the stream, man. Let's get the likes up. We're going to get into this. The weather is great in the state of South Carolina. The weather's been great. It's going to be great tomorrow. This is a side note. I'm gonna go see the movie The Creator. It's been a few months since I went to the theaters. I don't know what it is. It's been, these movies have been very mid, but The Creator is not going to be mid, and I will be there tomorrow. You know, if y'all have maybe y'all have checked out that movie, I'm gonna go check it out. I'm gonna support support that film because I think it's good. John David Washington, I think, is doing a great job. You know, went from being a football player to being an actor. It's not the easiest thing, but he made it happen. So shout out to John David Washington. I'm gonna go support and check out The Creator tomorrow. Just a side note. I told y'all on these late night live streams, it's gonna be kind of random. We're gonna get into Keefe D. We're gonna get into Keefe D. But I'm waiting for y'all to get the likes up. What's good, Liana? Yeah, I had to let you know I was live, you know. Since it's Friday, I'm like, man, y'all gonna be up anyway, so why not, you know? Yeah, definitely. I've heard it too. I've heard a lot of good things. I've liked what I've seen so far, and I'm gonna go check out The Creator tomorrow. I was thinking about going today. I'll say, man, I'll go tomorrow. That's usually when I go anyway. I rarely go to Friday or Thursday. You know, not premieres, but screenings, you know. But thank y'all for being here. Shout out to Chastity with the super chat. Said, do you think this will reopen big case? I mean, it could, depending on what happens. Depending on what happens.
Do you think it will reopen big case?
Again, it depends on who's telling, what is being told, what the investigators are looking for. But having both of those cases be basically solved together at the same time would definitely be great. You know, they need to close both of those cases and bring closure to the families. Well, shout out to everybody that's here. Let's get into Keefe D. You know, I posted on, if you follow me on Twitter, I posted about it. I talked about him being a self-snitch. And I posted like this. Somebody put out a video clip of Benny Siegel's song, In the Air. And they were referencing, you know, him telling DJ Vlad these things and then basically, you know, having the police break down his door. I want y'all to understand. Hold on. I want y'all to understand that, you know, this case, this thing has been a mystery, but I'm pretty sure the person that actually pulled the trigger lost his life. But Keefe D was the guy that got things started. You know, all of this, you know, from Orlando Anderson being jumped, you know, then the shooting with Tupac, the fact that Keefe D may or may not have been paid by Diddy to do this. Keefe D is going to spend the rest of his life in prison. But will he be bringing Diddy along with him? Because you got to ask yourself the question, what really did Keefe D, what issues did he have with Tupac outside of the incident? Now, there might have been some other things, but outside of the incident, you know, with the Orlando Anderson jumping, is it deeper? Was these guys paid to do a hit? Or is Keefe D full of it and he's just dragging Diddy into it because he wants to take the blame off himself? Well, he's in jail now. He's not going anywhere. He was directly involved. So unless he's going to be able to prove that Diddy pulled the trigger, I think it's useless at this point to try to make it seem like it was somebody else. And no, he was directly involved. He got his nephew to do it. Now, let's look at the behavior of Diddy. Right, you do have to have a fall guy. What's good, David? Keefe D was the fall guy. And Diddy and Big were having a problem. And no, not really Big, but it was mainly Diddy, right? You know, you got Suge Knight, you got Tupac. You know, Tupac making diss songs, and Diddy changed. Diddy was a different type of guy back in the 90s. Right? You would look at the dancing and the music videos, but he was a different type of guy. Like, he was more about trying to prove something, trying to be a tough guy. So I could absolutely see Diddy trying to put money on somebody's head. Look at Diddy's recent behavior. Look at the fact that you see Diddy is sleeping with all these different women. You see him giving back the master recordings of his artists. It's like, why now? Why didn't you do this before? Is it because Diddy knows that they were getting close to arresting Keefe D? And if he knows anything about Diddy's involvement, he's going to have to fess up. And the thing is this. If he kept mementos from the Tupac shooting, I'm sure he has receipts on Diddy. If Diddy ordered a hit, he has receipts that are going to show that Diddy was directly involved. I'm pretty sure he has all of that because they searched his home. This guy was going out here doing all these interviews, gloating about his involvement, thinking that he wouldn't be arrested. You guys got to understand that this case was still not solved. Even though there was a guy that was considered the shooter, the case still was not closed because the people who were also, the other people who were also involved, they're still alive. Shout out to Liana. It says, good night, everyone. I paused my French lessons to join you. Okay, well, listen, if you got something else going on, that's cool. Appreciate that. Appreciate you being here. Now, there are going to be people that are going to say, well, I don't think he was involved. But again, look at his behavior.
Good night, everyone. I paused my French lessons to join you. Lol.
Well, I appreciate you pausing it and coming by. All right. What's good, Bella Michelle? The head just got, okay, cool. Appreciate you being here as well. All right. Shout out to everybody that's here. You know what I'm saying? I know it's Friday night. A lot of y'all are kicking back. Diddy gives back all this publishing. Right? He's giving back this publishing. And I know people, and even as former artists, like, it's not worth anything. You're giving us this back, but it's not worth anything. And Diddy knows this, but it's like preemptive. I will not be shocked if they are able to get someone who they believe and can say, listen, he ordered the hit. He ordered the hit. He did it. That's all they need. That's all they need to go after Diddy. I don't care how good his lawyers is. He can still be arrested. People got to understand that East Coast, West Coast rap beef thing was just over the top. I think it was overinflated because a lot of those guys, those East Coast rappers and even the West Coast rappers, were still all cool with each other. But there were certain people who were benefiting from it. You know, they were benefiting from the division. It's funny how people nowadays want to talk about racism. They want to talk about how, white people want to sow division with black people. But we sowed our own division. These labels, the guys that, Suge Knight played a part into the division with these rappers. Diddy played a part in it with these rappers. And what was crazy was that Suge Knight and Tupac, they were going to the East Coast, like, just doing whatever, messing with certain exes of some of these guys, you know what I'm saying? Or current wives, wink, wink, right? But you had stations like MTV and others who really hyped up this East Coast. People gotta understand, MTV News was huge back in the 90s. That's back when people actually cared about music. MTV News played a huge part in everything. Some of y'all who did not grow up in the 90s or even the early 2000s, MTV News was like, it was like CNN. It was like MSM. It was like Fox News. Not Fox News, but it was like for breaking news and for reporting on things, they were there. They were one of the top ones. Especially when it has something to do with these rappers. MTV was huge in the 90s. And these magazines as well. Seneca brought up Vibe magazine. All these magazines will play a part into it with their cover stories. There were a lot of different forces at play here. And it looked like Tupac and Death Row, they were popular. Not to say that Bad Boy and Big wasn't, but I mean, Tupac was becoming larger than life if he hadn't been already. Yeah, Death Row was beefing with a lot of people. All because of Suge Knight. But you got two people. You got one incident from Quad Studios. Tupac going to prison. Tupac getting out of prison, immediately going and signing with Suge Knight and Death Row when he gets out. And then you have this animosity. Then you have this whole thing about did Tupac screw Faith Evans? What's good, Daisy? The 90s were crazy. 90, 95, 96. I mean, even though I was very young at the time, you still watch TV, you still see the magazines. Even years later, the documentaries, you see how heightened things were in the mid-90s. Yeah, MTV was TMZ. That's the perfect comparison. I think that MTV was TMZ of the 90s. Yes, they were. They were the TMZ of the 90s. They were. You could look at TMZ in their presentation. It is very MTV News. TMZ in their presentation, especially on their videos, is very much so just like MTV News. But the craziest thing is that when Tupac and Biggie passed away, it created an entirely different atmosphere in music. The music just went into a different direction. The music went into an entirely different direction. And you saw these other rappers rise up. Somebody mentioned, let's see. Who brought it up? 92 though. He said Master P. What about Cash Money Records? Birdman, the Hot Boys, Juvenile. We saw the emergence of Snoop Dogg. Even though he was his own man, but he sort of elevated even more. Shout out to Liana for gifting a membership to Black Jesus. Appreciate that, Liana, for creating more members in the chat. You saw the emergence of Jay-Z. Who became a big deal in New York after Biggie passed away? It was Jay-Z. The crazy thing is that Mace was starting to rise, and then Mace left the music scene. But the biggest benefiter of this was Jay-Z. Right, you had Nas, but Nas had already been out there, you know. DMX, right? DMX blew up. But Diddy became more and more irrelevant. Did y'all notice that? Bad Boy became a very irrelevant label years later. You had all these other New York rappers spring up. The West Coast, they had their people, but it wasn't to the level of New York. Let's be real. Or the South. I mentioned Cash Money Records. Yeah. All of these different rappers started to rise. The music industry changed forever. When Tupac was killed, and then when Biggie was killed, the music industry changed. It went into different directions. It went away from East Coast, West Coast. It now was the emergence of New York rap, the emergence of Rockefeller, the emergence of DMX, Rough Riders. You got Cash Money, No Limit Records. Then you look down south, you have Lil Jon, you got Ludacris. Oh, I would mention 50 Cent, but I'm trying to stay into like earliest 2000, like 2000, 2001. Y'all put some names in the chat. Right. When Biggie passed away, Bad Boy didn't have anybody for a while to Black Rob drop. Right. They didn't have nobody. Mace was supposed to be the guy. Yeah, Big Pun, Fat Joe, Wu-Tang Clan. Wu-Tang Clan had always been around in the 90s. Cameron and Dipset. Mace was supposed to carry the torch, and he walked away because he couldn't deal with Diddy anymore. Maybe he knew something that other people didn't. Ja Rule, right? Ja Rule. People don't know Ja Rule was a big deal back in the early 2000s. Ja Rule was a huge deal in 2000, 2001. He was one of the biggest rappers in hip hop. You had Shine. Shine was supposed to be another artist, I believe, under Diddy that was supposed to blow up, but he ended up going to prison. Diddy had such bad luck after Biggie was killed. Nelly, right? Nelly, you had the rise of Nelly in mid-South. I don't call it the Midwest. I call it the Mid-South. Basically St. Louis like the Mid-South. So you had all these, the whole country opened up after the deaths of those rappers. You know why? Because the media, these record labels had to look elsewhere for talent. They could not rely on New York and Los Angeles anymore. They had to look elsewhere. That's how crazy that East Coast, West Coast beef was in the 90s. And that's the main reason why I'm bringing that up. Diddy just, it got worse and worse for Bad Boy Records. It really did until they had to sign Bobby Brown. I mean, that's how bad it got. Right. 8 Ball MJG. Right. UGK. Capone Noriega. Right. Diddy just had a lot of bad luck. Right after, like 2 years after Biggie Smalls was killed, he has the incident with Shine. That actually harmed him too, because J-Lo stopped dealing with him. Shine goes to prison. Yeah, Outkast. The whole country opened up. You started seeing artists from Chicago, Texas, Atlanta, Florida, Philly. Youngbloods. Cassidy. Let's see. So I think that the industry changed a lot because it had to. The media milked this East Coast, West Coast. They had to go elsewhere. Right, Detroit with Eminem. The whole country opened up. You started seeing artists from all over get found all of a sudden. St. Louis with Nelly, St. Lunatics. 2001 was a huge year for music. People don't understand. That era between 2000 and 2003 will never be duplicated. There was a lot of good music during that time. I don't care what nobody says. Because you had the emergence of BET with 106 in Park, one of the biggest shows mirroring it. TRL was big on MTV. They was bringing all the top artists, and then BET, 106 in Park, they started to feature during that time period a lot of the biggest rappers, R&B singers. 2000, 2003. Look how many artists became a big deal between that time period. Yeah, Rap City in the Basement. Right, Kanye West. Kanye West's first album dropped in 2003. There will never be another time period in music like it was from 2000 to 2003. And how so many artists became household names around that time period. Just a couple of years after the deaths of Tupac and Biggie Smalls. The creativity in music videos. They actually used to put effort into music videos. One of my favorite music videos used to be from Missy Elliott because of the creativity. It actually cared about making sure that the visuals for the song were cool. And you saw Bad Boy become more and more irrelevant, bad luck with this artist, bad luck with that artist. It just never worked out. And Bad Boy became a joke. It became a meme. They had talented artists, but they were never able to duplicate the success they had with the East Coast, West Coast rap. Shout out to Chastity.
Jay, why did NY rappers didn't like the Dirty South? Do you think Uncle Luke deserves a lot more?
Appreciate that. They didn't like the South because of the music wasn't all lyrical. You know, Southern music ain't all lyrical. Even though you have artists that could be lyrical, the music wasn't as lyrical as it was from New York rappers. So they didn't have a respect for Southern rappers because they thought Southern rappers were all about, you know, dance music, club music. New York rappers were about bars and, you know what I'm saying? They were more about that. Right, that whole collective, Missy Elliott, Timbaland, Magoo, Genuine, they were like a whole collective. Yeah, they've always hated on Southern rap, but Southern rap has carried hip hop for like almost 20 years. People may not want to hear that, even though some of my favorite rappers are from New York. But I have to be real. They've been the ones carrying rap. Now it's been dicey over the last couple of years. But a lot of these people started going to Georgia for rappers, Atlanta, Florida, Louisiana, Texas. That what they was Memphis. Some of my favorite rappers from Memphis too. You know, even though Memphis is in the South, but you know. All right, let's I'm gonna play this news story. Make sure y'all like the stream, okay? Let's get the likes up a little bit more. I'm gonna play this news story. Keefe D, he's in trouble. He's in trouble. So we're gonna play this clip. Keefe D. Keefe D he's gonna be gone forever. And he might be taking Diddy with him. I think he might be taking Diddy with him. Let's see.
Some bombshell breaking news that just came into the newsroom. Police in Las Vegas just announced they've made an arrest into the murder of legendary rap artist Tupac Shakur. Shakur was murdered in a drive-by shooting in 1996. All this information is very fresh. We're still working to get more details on who was arrested. It does come months after investigators searched for a man named Dwayne Keefe Davis, who says he is one of the only surviving witnesses to the shooting.
Yeah.
In Nevada, there is apparently a grand jury that are...
Vlad himself, man. Listen, man, how many rappers have gotten cases off of talking to Vlad? People say Vlad is the police. Vlad is an opportunist. When you go on this man's platform, you might end up getting indicted. All right. You might end up getting indicted dealing with this man. And people should know that. When you go on this man's show, you might get indicted. And they choose to go on there anyway. Keefe D couldn't help himself. Shout out to Liana again. Says, hey, Chastity, welcome to the Mod Squad. Yeah, shout out to Chastity. She joined the team.
interviewing people as we speak.
Yeah.
What was your reaction when you heard about him, about them raiding his house?
I mean, I think everyone was surprised. You know, like, the case is 27 years old. The proffer agreement happened years ago. There's been multiple documentaries about it. They're going to do it now? Okay. You know, the question is whether it's going to be like a real prosecution or whether they're just going to, hey, listen, just plead out to something slight and so we could just close the case. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Have they reached out to you about any of your footage?
I'm gonna give you the exclusive on this. They actually have tried. I've gotten a bunch of phone calls and emails and stuff like that, but I'm not cooperating with this.
Okay. What?
Yeah.
Hey at
Do you think
Chastity,
it's-
welcome to the mod SQAD. Black heart.
Right. Appreciate it, Liana. Shout out to Chastity.
I mean, I'm assuming they can access the interview on YouTube.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming what they want is the uncut version. Right?
Correct.
Okay. Just to see if there was anything talked about.
Correct. Yeah, but my thing, and I've always held this stance when it comes to people that interview on my platform. I'm not going to have you come to my platform and do an interview only to then work against you.
Yeah.
With the police, regardless of what people think that I.
But that's what happens, Vlad, when they go to your platform. You question them. It'll be situations where they don't even want to talk about. They don't even want to talk about certain things, and you go out of your way to get answers out of them. You go out of your way to get certain answers. You will question them until they give you an answer about certain things. You're lying, man. Not to say that you're doing that purposely. You're trying to get them in trouble, but you're trying to get clicks and views, sir. So yes, you are questioning them to the point to where they incriminate themselves. If you know something's going to incriminate them, you should have some self-discipline to say, you know what, maybe I shouldn't say that. But you don't do that, Vlad. You ask them these questions over and over and over, seeking an answer. And they give you an answer, and it is used against them.
I really do, the reality of what I do. And I've had to do this before. I remember this one time they tried to seize this one interview of someone who asked me to take it down like the next day.
Okay.
Because they were fighting a case at the time. Their lawyer asked me to take him down. They then wanted to get the footage from me, and I said no. And they were like, well, we're going to put you on the stand, whatever. We're going to subpoena you. I'm like, all right, well, I'm lawyering up then. Mm-hmm. So my lawyer got involved, and they weren't able to get it. And, ultimately the guy ended up losing his case anyways, but we weren't involved in it. So if you...
Is he talking about AR-AB? I think he might be talking about AR-AB. Because AR-AB is the most known case of a man in getting himself indicted, all right? Because I think he's talking about AR-AB. Because AR-AB's interview was used against him in court, all right? It was used against him in court. So that's probably who he's talking about, right? These district attorneys are lazy. They're not doing the work they used to. They're relying on these men to snitch on themselves. And what they do is they do a digital footprint. They not only do they go and look at DJ Vlad's interview, they go and look at all their other interviews. They search through their social media. This is why if you are one of these rappers and you know that you're out here in these streets, the best thing you can do is either limit the amount of interviews you do and keep the subject matter about your music and not about your street crimes. You know, these artists, instead of being so thirsty for interviews from guys like DJ Vlad, you need to make this perfectly clear to them or you're not going to do their interview. But a lot of these rappers want to be seen so badly that they're willing to go into these interviews and be questioned, basically interrogated by DJ Vlad. Because that's what's going on. If I'm going to do an interview with a guy like Vlad, I'm going to make it clear, sir, we're not talking about some of this other stuff. We're going to keep it about the music. If you want to talk about the music and things like that, now, or some other things in regards to my life and not certain crimes that are unsolved or that the police could be looking into, like that's off. I don't want to talk about that. If you ask me one question about a crime that happened years ago that I was allegedly involved in, I'm walking out the interview. And I will never speak to you again. If I make it clear, I'm not speaking about, but these rappers are either not smart or they don't have the right people around them. Shout out to Bella Michelle for becoming a chat fan. Join the chat elite. Appreciate that, Bella Michelle. Always supporting.
You interview on my platform, if the police then try to approach me on it, I'm always...
I think she's always been a fan. I think she was already a member. So appreciate you staying a part of the membership group.
going to say no.
Yeah.
So I haven't even responded, and I'm sure the police are going to watch this and now see why.
Yeah.
But that's my stance. I'm not responding. I'm not cooperating. If you want to try to subpoena whatever, I will get a lawyer and I will fight it. And from what I understand, even in the language they use, I don't think that they can. But I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to get the raw footage, thinking there might be something that was said that we didn't release. But honestly, if you know what I do, literally almost every second of the footage has been released.
Okay.
Unless the person coughs or,
Right.
says, oh, let me go get a drink of water, let me go to the bathroom. Like we're into the quantity of footage, so we try to get every second of footage.
He's right about that. Vlad will take an hour-long video, an hour, maybe an hour and a half interview, and he will chop it up into like 100 different clips, and he'll not only post those 100 clips, he'll repost those 100 clips, because that's what he does. That's what he does. He takes that interview, he will chop it up into like 100 clips, and he will post every single one of those clips too. It'll be like it'd be like 2 minutes long, a minute and a half long. He'll find a way to clip it up to where he's able to maximize the views of those clips.
Try to release it
Yeah.
whenever possible. So they're really barking up the wrong tree if that's what they're trying to do. And I don't think, they haven't used any language of me, of trying to force me to do it, because I don't think that they have any legal basis of it. But I'm not cooperating. Whatever Keefe is going through, Vlad TV is not going to add to his problems.
Okay.
Now, the videos are released publicly, so I'm assuming that they could probably access that. But it's out of my hands at this point. And whatever happens to Keefe happens to Keefe. I don't have any sort of malice towards Keefe at all. I appreciate him coming to my platform and telling his story. He may come back at some point. He may not. We've had discussions about that as well. But what I didn't realize was that grand juries actually take a long time.
Yeah.
I just thought I thought it was like a trial. Like, okay, go on this date, everyone presents their evidence, and then the grand jury decides. But in actuality, this drags on for months sometimes, where like every week they come in with some.
I bet he would like to see Keefe D come back on his show, knowing full well that they're trying to put him in jail. And he's probably already got his questions typed up. He probably got all his questions he's going to ask Keefe D. He definitely wants Keefe D to come back on his show if he's able to. But Keefe D is arrested. I don't think unless Vlad has bail money, I don't think he's getting out anytime soon. Yeah, Vlad is absolutely one of the most well-known opportunists. Do I think that he goes into these interviews purposely trying to get these guys arrested? No. I just think he's an opportunist, and if he can get information out of people knowing full well they could get them in trouble, I don't think he cares. I don't think he cares. I've seen how he questions people. He will ask them questions knowing full well that those are questions that could get them in trouble, and he asks those questions anyway. He asked those questions anyway. I know he knows, damn, I might get this guy. He don't care about that. He just care about getting his clicks and getting his views. He doesn't care about that man's freedom. AR Ab is spending a lot of time in prison because of those interviews that he did with DJ, the interview he did with DJ Vlad. At some point, DJ, they are going to haul you into court because they're going to see you as somebody who's an investigative reporter. And they'll find a way to get you in court one way or the other. They just can't now, but they can always figure out a way.
They knew whatever, until they finally close their case and then the grand jury votes, which is honestly, I think, kind of a dirty system because it allows you to just keep piling stuff on until you get what you want, as opposed to like, let me get my shit together and present it. But you know, I'm not part of the legal system or whatever else. So whatever happens. But I'm not cooperating with any of this shit. Whatever Las Vegas PD is gonna do, they're gonna have to do that on their own.
Yeah. Do you think, based on what he said and what he's written in his book, they could convict him, or do you think they? What would you, I would think they would need some sort of evidence, because he could just say, "Oh, I just said all that shit to make money."
Yeah.
You know?
I think it more so comes down to the proffer agreement.
Mm-hmm.
I think that what's more going to be challenged is whether the proffer agreement holds, because he said what he said to Greg Kading,
mm-hmm.
and he essentially has been repeating that in
Right.
the interviews and whatever else. So if the proffer agreement holds, then technically they can't use any of that shit.
Yeah.
But if they say, well, the proffer agreement was only for that day, and if you choose to repeat it, then it can be used against you, then they may have something. Mm-hmm. But I think that this is like a gray legal area that, is going to have to be argued in the legal system.
Yeah. And I interviewed Greg and asked him specifically about this.
Somebody like in Keefe D's position, if he has any of these agreements, is there any time that he can talk about the stuff that he discussed with you guys without getting in trouble?
No. When he goes outside of that agreement, that information is all there to be used, should a prosecutor choose to do so. So when he's gone outside of this law enforcement environment where he has been given this agreement, everything else is up for grabs. So everything that he's said in books or on YouTube channels or, on, multiple interviews, that's all information that can absolutely be used against him and should.
And his understanding of it was that the proffer agreement that was given to Keefe was for that one session only.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was always aware of as well. But then again, I think there's more to it.
Yeah.
And you also got to think, I just want to say this,
Okay.
that, I mean, Greg has been trying to solve this case. So Greg is going to say, things based on what he wants as well. And this is not it's not a shot at Greg. It's just that, Greg wants to solve this case. He was working on this case. So he's going to ultimately hope for things to go his way, mm-hmm. which may not always be, the way the law ultimately works out. Mm-hmm. So.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's why that's what's going to work against Keefe D, man, because this police officer or this person, wants to solve the case. I think the Vegas PD wants this case solved. Even though people can say, "Hey, we know who the shooter is," we want to know why. There's always a why, They want to know why. Why would somebody want this to happen? And that's why they want to officially close it. But for Vlad to act like he has absolutely nothing to do with this, bro. Vlad, come on, man. You have interviewed this guy. How many times has he interviewed Keefe D? Anybody know? Bro, they are using your material. You know what's funny? These rappers have done numerous interviews with other people. If you look on YouTube for, let's say a certain rapper, right? A certain rapper that's hot right now. You go and you look up that particular rapper's name and you look up interviews. You'll see all these different people who have interviewed that rapper. None of those particular interviewers' content is being used against them in any type of case. The only person whose content is being used in cases is DJ Vlad. And it's not because he's such a great interviewer. It's because he is an investigative interviewer. He's an investigative interviewer. You say 30? He's done 30 interviews? And when you look at guys like Keefe and others, how come the only interviewer whose content is always being brought up in cases is DJ Vlad? Look at Charleston White. Charleston White has done, I don't know how many interviews. Has any of those interviews ever really been held against him? Because he said a lot of crazy shit. But if he says something crazy on DJ Vlad, everybody's going to remember that interview. Maybe if he does a Say Cheese TV interview, but if he's on Vlad and he says something crazy, people like, that's Vlad. He said it on Vlad. I said it on Vlad. Look at Boosie. Don't Boosie do other interviews outside of DJ Vlad? DJ Vlad loves Boosie because Boosie's content. Okay. Boosie is content. Whenever Boosie says on the interview, you know it's a DJ Vlad interview. Let me add this element in it too, because Bella's bringing it up in the chat about how corrupt the LAPD has been. The LAPD was deeply corrupt. It might have been corruption in the Vegas police department as well. Gangs was a huge part of society back in the 90s out there in Vegas and Los Angeles, especially Los Angeles. Because a lot of those people would come to Vegas. They would relocate to Vegas and they would bring that gang culture too. But the police departments there were full of corrupt cops. An era of corrupt cops was in the 90s. The height of the corrupt cop was in the 90s in Los Angeles. There might have been police involvement in the Biggie shooting. Are they looking deeply into? That's why you look at the Biggie Smalls case should have been solved first. Because at least we know who the shooter was in regards to Tupac. But how come we don't know who shot Biggie? Because maybe it wasn't a civilian that did it. Cop shoots gang members against. Yeah, it was crazy. There have been so many documentaries about that. The movie Training Day was about a corrupt police officer in the 90s. Like Denzel Washington's character was mirrored after one of those police officers. Death Row member said it was Poochie. Mar Paru. Hold on, fam. Shout out to 92 Dolo with the cash app. He says justice for Tupac from Texas to South Carolina. I appreciate it, 92 Dolo. Shout out to you, bro. The Biggie case should have been solved, but maybe the domino that needs to fall is this Tupac case. If they're able to finally close the chapter on that, they need to figure out what happened with Biggie, but that might be more complex because of the nature of it and who could have possibly been involved. But still, I just think that it needs to be closure. I know Keefe and his nephew personally. I still live here. I know so much. There's no way in hell I can speak on YouTube. Wow. But you know, Keefe ain't got no problem speaking. That's the crazy thing. You know, Keefe knows a lot. And he's been putting bits of things out there, you know. Let's go back to what DJ Vlad had to say. You know, him saying he has really nothing to do with this. He innocent. Yeah, Todd says he knows things, man. And you know what's crazy? Guys like DJ Vlad will welcome. They will welcome people who knew Keefe D and knew Orlando to their platforms in order to speak. I don't care if it's for money or what. You can't be putting yourself in a position to be incarcerated, to become a target. But Keefe didn't care. I don't know if it's arrogance. Because some people, man, some people are arrogant to the point to where they're like, man, they're not gonna arrest me. They're not gonna do nothing to me. Yeah, Rafael Perez, right? Rafael Perez was the guy that Denzel Washington's character on Training Day was, and he even looked like him. That's the crazy thing. If you look at Rafael Perez and you look at Denzel Washington's character in Training Day, he almost looked like him.
In Nevada, there is apparently a grand jury that are interviewing people as we speak.
Yeah.
What was your reaction when you heard about him, about them raiding his house?
I mean, I think everyone was surprised. You know, like, the case is 27 years old. The proffer agreement happened years ago. There's been multiple documentaries about it. They're going to do it now? Okay. You know, the question is whether it's going to be like a real prosecution or whether they're just going to, hey, listen, just plead out to something slight and so we could just close the case. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Have they reached out to you about any of your footage?
I'm going to give you the exclusive on this. They actually have tried. I've gotten a bunch of phone calls and emails and stuff like that, but I'm not cooperating with this.
Okay. Do you think it's... I mean, I'm assuming they can access the interview on YouTube.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming what they want is the uncut version, right?
Correct.
Okay. Just to see if there was anything talked about.
Correct. Yeah, but my thing, and I've always held this stance when it comes to people that interview on my platform, I'm not going to have you come to my platform and do an interview only to then work against you.
Yeah.
With the police, regardless of what.
You're right, DJ Vlad. Let me say this too. I support good police officers, okay? Shitty police officers, bullies with badges, I do not support those people. Okay, if you want to defund bullies with badges, absolutely. But there are good police officers out there, whether y'all want to hear that or not. Somebody got to fight crime. Somebody got to, break up a lot of your petty arguments with your girlfriends or your husbands or whoever, right? What's good, LLJ Cool J? There's some of these names, man. What's good, B Fierce?
People think that I really do the reality of what I do. And I've had to do this before. I remember this one time they tried to seize this one interview of someone who asked me to take it down like the next day.
Okay.
Because they were fighting a case at the time.
Yeah, I see you made it in the chat, B Fierce.
Their lawyer asked me to take him down. They then wanted to get the footage from me, and I said no. And they were like, well, we're going to put you on the stand, whatever. We're going to subpoena you. Like, all right, well, I'm lawyering up then. Mm-hmm. So my lawyer got involved, and they weren't able to get it. And, ultimately the guy ended up losing his case anyways, but we weren't involved in it. So if you interview on my platform, if the police then try to approach me on it, I'm always going to say no.
Yeah.
So I haven't even responded. And I'm sure the police are going to watch this and now see why.
Yeah.
But that's my stance. I'm not responding. I'm not cooperating. If you want to try to subpoena whatever, I will get a lawyer and I will fight it. And from what I understand, even in the language they use, I don't think that they can. But I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to get the raw footage, thinking there might be something that was said that we didn't release. But honestly, if you know,
right, Bella, Adam 22 is a simp, and he's been acting, trying to act tough out here, and all of a sudden, but bro, you let other men go to pound town on your wife, and those men basically are doing interviews about how they have stretched her out. You know what I'm saying?
what I do, literally almost every second of the footage has been released.
Okay.
Unless the person coughs or
Right.
says, "Oh, let me go get a drink of water. Let me go to the bathroom." Like we're into the quantity of footage, so we try to get every second of footage and try to release it whenever possible. So they're really barking up the wrong tree if that's what they're trying to do. And I don't think and they haven't used any language of me of trying to force me to do it, because I don't think that they have any legal basis of it. But I am not cooperating. Whatever Keefe is going through, Vlad TV is not going to add to his problems.
Okay.
Now, the videos are released publicly, so I'm assuming that they could probably access that, but it's out of my hands at this point. And whatever happens to Keefe happens to Keefe. Ultimately, I don't have any sort of malice towards Keefe at all. I appreciate him coming to my platform and telling his story. He may come back at some point. He may not. We've had discussions about that as well. But what I didn't realize was that grand juries actually take a long time.
Yeah.
I just thought I thought it was like a trial. Like, okay, go on this date, everyone presents their evidence, and then the grand jury decides. But in actuality, this drags on for months sometimes, where like every week they come in with something new, whatever, until they finally close their case, and then the grand jury votes, which is honestly, I think, kind of a dirty system, because it allows you to just keep piling stuff on until you get what you want, as opposed to like, let me get my shit together and present it. But I'm not part of the legal system or whatever else. So whatever happens. But I'm not cooperating with any of this shit. Whatever Las Vegas PD is going to do, they're going to have to do that on their own.
Yeah. Do you think, based on what he said?
Well, you know what? DJ Vlad is saying this, but the thing is, DJ Vlad, if this continues, if people who come onto your platform continues to self-snitch, they're going to find a way to bring you in to see what you know. He says that he puts all the footage out there, that he doesn't really edit much, right? That could be true. But they're going to want to know why these people are going to you and saying these things. They may try to find a way to drag him into court. If they really want to get somebody, they'll drag him into court. They'll find a way to drag him into court.
And what he's written in his book, they could convict him? Or do you think I would think they would need some sort of evidence, because he could just say, "Oh, I just said all that shit to make money."
Yeah. I think it more so comes down to the proffer agreement. I think that what's more going to be challenged is whether the proffer agreement holds, because he said what he said to Greg Kading, and he essentially has been repeating that in the interviews and whatever else. So if the proffer agreement holds, then technically they can't use any of that shit.
Yeah.
But if they say, well, the proffer agreement was only for that day, and if you choose to repeat it, then it can be used against you, then they may have something. But I think that this is like a gray legal area that is going to have to be argued in the legal system.
Yeah. And I interviewed Greg and asked him specifically about this.
Somebody like in Keefe position, if he has any of these agreements, is there any time that he can talk about the stuff that he discussed with you guys without getting in trouble?
No. When he goes outside of that agreement, that information is all there to be used, should a prosecutor choose to do so. So when he's gone outside of this law enforcement environment where he has been given this agreement, everything else is up for grabs. So everything that he's said in books or on YouTube channels or on multiple interviews, that's all information that can absolutely be used against him and should.
And his understanding of it was that the proffer agreement that was given to Keefe was for that one session only.
Yeah, I mean that's what I was always aware of as well. But then again, I think there's more to it.
Yeah.
And you also got to think. I just want to say this:
Okay.
that I mean, Greg has been trying to solve this case, so Greg is going to say, things based on what he wants as well. And this is not a it's not a shot at Greg. It's just that Greg wants to solve this case. He was working on this case, so he's going to ultimately hope for things to go his way, which may not always be, the way the law ultimately works out.
Well, it's very difficult. It's very difficult for me to look at what's going on with Keefe D and the fact that he was on Vlad's platform and saying these things, and Vlad, you're questioning of him, because the reason why they would speak to you, Vlad, anyway, outside, because Keefe D's been saying these things for years. He wrote a book, but your questioning of him, specific times, dates, right? When this happened, that is what they want. They want to take what you did, and they basically want to match what what was being said in the interview with what y'all have spoken about privately. It's basically probably what they want to say. They want to make sure that is what he's saying on video actually what he believes. They want to know that. Okay, Ty, let me see. Open up the phone lines. Just let me know what area code you calling from. Hold on, just give me a second. I gotta restart this Skype. If it works, I don't know if it works. It might not even work. Yeah, this Skype is not. Yeah, this Skype does not want to work. Hold on. Hold on a second, y'all. Let me. I'm gonna go through and I'm gonna replay what Vlad is saying while I get this.
Keefe D's house gets raided.
Yeah.
In Nevada.
Mm-hmm.
There is apparently a grand jury that are interviewing people as we speak.
Yeah.
What was your reaction when you heard about him, about them raiding his house?
I mean, I think everyone was surprised. Like, the case is 27 years old. The proffer agreement happened years ago. There's been multiple documentaries about it. They're going to do it now? Okay. The question is whether it's going to be like a real prosecution or whether they're just going to, hey, listen, just plead out to something slight and so we could just close the case. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Have they reached out to you about any of your footage?
I'm going to give you the exclusive on this. They actually have tried. I've gotten a bunch of phone calls and emails and stuff like that, but I'm not cooperating with this.
Okay. Do you think it's... I mean, I'm assuming they can access the interview on YouTube.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming what they want is the uncut version, right?
Correct.
Okay. Just to see if there was anything talked about.
Correct. Yeah, but my thing, and I've always held this stance when it comes to people that interview on my platform, I'm not going to have you come to my platform and do an interview only to then work against you with the police. Regardless of what people think that I really do, the reality of what I do, and I've had to do this before. I remember this one time they tried to seize this one interview of someone who asked me to take it down like the next day.
Okay.
Because they were fighting a case at the time. Their lawyer asked me to take him down. They then wanted to get the footage from me, and I said no. And they were like, well, we're going to put you on the stand, whatever. We're going to subpoena you. And like, all right, well, I'm lawyering up then. Mm-hmm. So my lawyer got involved, and they weren't able to get it. And, ultimately the guy ended up losing his case anyways, but we weren't involved in it. So if you interview on my platform, if the police then try to approach me on it, I'm always going to say no.
Yeah.
So I haven't even responded. And I'm sure the police are going to watch this and now see why.
Yeah.
But that's my stance. I'm not responding. I'm not cooperating. If you want to try to subpoena whatever, I will get a lawyer and I will fight it. And from what I understand, even in the language they use, I don't think that they can. But I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to get the raw footage, thinking there might be something that was said that we didn't release. But honestly, if you know what I do, literally almost every second of the footage has been released.
Okay.
Unless the person coughs or says, "Oh, let me go get a drink of water. Let me go to the bathroom." Like we're into the quantity of footage, so we try to get every second of footage and try to release it whenever possible. So they're really barking up the wrong tree if that's what they're trying to do. And I don't think, they haven't used any language of me, of trying to force me to do it, because I don't think that they have any legal basis of it. But I'm not cooperating. Whatever Keefe is going through, Vlad TV is not going to add to his problems.
Okay.
Now, the videos are released publicly, so I'm assuming that they could probably access that. But it's out of my hands at this point. And whatever happens to Keefe happens to Keefe. Ultimately, I don't have any sort of malice towards Keefe at all. I appreciate him coming to my platform and telling his story. He may come back at some point. He may not. We've had discussions about that as well. But what I didn't realize was that grand juries actually take a long time.
Yeah.
I just thought I thought it was like a trial. Like, okay, go on this date. Everyone presents their evidence, and then.
Hey, Todd, if you're still there, that's the call-in number, Todd. Todd wants to call in. Todd says he knows Keefe D. And knew of his nephew as well. So, Todd, that's the number if you want to call in, bro. Shout out to Eric Square. Shout out to Eric Square. Says, AJ, it's not going to surprise me that Vlad is saying this because he doesn't want a bad rap with guests. Best believe he has a stake in this, because wasn't he being called an alleged snitch from someone not too long ago? He was. A lot of people are calling him that. And he wants guests to open up, and it's kind of difficult for them to open up to him, with this type of situation,
Hey Jay, it's not going to surprise me that Vlad is saying this cause he doesn't want a bad rap with guests. Best believe he has a stake in this. Cause wasn't he being called an alleged snitch from someone not too long ago?
Appreciate that. Todd, if you there, that's the number in the chat, bro. Call if you want to, call in. You can. Just let me know if you're still there.
And the grand jury decides, but in actuality, this drags on for months sometimes, where every week they come in with something new, whatever, until they finally close their case, and then the grand jury votes, which is honestly, I think, kind of a dirty system, because it allows you to just keep piling stuff on until you get what you want, as opposed to let me get my shit together and present it. But I'm not part of the legal system or whatever else. So whatever happens, but I'm not cooperating with any of this shit. Whatever Las Vegas PD is gonna do, they're gonna have to do that on their own.
Yeah. Do you?
All right, let's see. Hold on. Yo, you're live. Oh, you there? Hold on. Let me go and make sure that the sound is right. Hold on a second. Let me make sure the audio is good. It's been a minute since Yo, you there?
I'm here. I'm here.
Yeah, this Todd.
Yeah, you can hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, bro. What's good, man?
Oh, everything good, man. Trying to just work and, be a good citizen, I guess.
Okay. All right. Now, you said you want to speak,
Yeah, I'm going to speak on some things, but I ain't going to speak on some things I know, because I don't want to get involved with that.
Right.
And if anybody want to question, my credibility, I'm off Alondra, Long Beach, Santa Fe, Greenleaf. That's where I live at. That's pretty much where Southside Come to Crip is at.
Okay.
All right. Basically, I'm gonna give like some brief details. Like you'll never get this type of information because I still live here. My parents been here since 1969.
Okay.
So we've been knowing Keefe a long time. We've been knowing Orlando, Anderson a long time. Like my cousin was DJ Train from the South. He ran with NWA. Like I know Eazy-E. We all grew up in the same neighborhood. Like nobody can refute that. But I'm gonna tell you the real, like the news media, everybody on YouTube got shit backwards.
Okay.
They think it's just over a hood beef. It's not over a hood beef. Back then, everybody was slanging dope.
Okay.
So a lot of hoods was kind of, getting along. You know what I mean? Because they want to make that money.
Uh-huh.
But I'm gonna tell you the real story. What kicked this all off?
Okay.
The real story. The Lakewood Mall, right? Which is like 3 cities over. So you got Compton, you got Paramount, you got Bellflower, and you got Lakewood.
Right.
So that Lakewood is the big mall.
Mm-hmm.
So Baby Lane and a few cats that I know was up in the mall. They was in a Foot Locker.
Okay.
The mob dudes was in there. And, obviously one of the mob dudes had a death row chain on.
Mm-hmm.
So somehow they bumped heads. I don't know what happened. But they got the best of the mob dudes and they ended up snatching the chain. I remember when I was young, I was about 13, 14, everybody was parading that death row chain around the South, right? And that's what kicked it off, right? So it wasn't like no gunplay after that or nothing like that. Death row kind of, and the mob kind of let it slide. But they just happened to see Orlando, who was there at the Lakewood Mall, at the Mike Tyson fight.
Yeah.
So I'm literally telling you this. Tupac is dead over a death row chain, bro.
You know
the
what?
The game said it in one of their. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah. Because I was saying I've seen where they mentioned that particular incident at the mall and how that could have been, the spark. It was still, like you said, you thought they had let it go until they saw Orlando by himself. It seemed like, right? And for some reason, they just said, "Let's get him,"
Well, Tupac said, "Let's get him." Tupac led the pack. You know what I mean? If you listen to Keefe interviews, if you listen to Orlando's previous interviews, they said if he hadn't did nothing, they wouldn't have did nothing to him. Because Orlando was a big Tupac fan, like a lot of us was back then. We used to wear his T-shirts and all that. You know what I mean? Like he was a big fan of Tupac, man. He loved Tupac. And when he said when Tupac walked up on him and bombed on him, you got to think this kid is tough. Orlando was tough, man. These dudes wearing Stacey Adams.
Yeah.
They was stumping and kicking the hell out of him, man, and he took it. But one thing I know about Southside Compton Crips, because I live here, I'm still living here. You're not going to get away with that, bro. Back in the day, any hood. If you get packed out, they finna come back and get you. Now, I can't say who did it. I know who did it. But at the end of the day, any hood in Compton or L.A., if you pack a dude out, man, they coming to get you. That's how it was back then. I don't know how it is now. You can take an ass whooping and kind of run with it, but back then, no. You couldn't run with that ass whooping. But all this shit was over. 2 different hoods meeting up in, not necessarily meeting up in the mall, but just cross paths. And literally, the South Side's got the best of the mob dudes, and they snatched the chain. And I'm telling you, they were parading that chain around. Here's another thing people don't talk about or don't question. Where the fuck is that death row chain at?
Right. They never was able to get
That's what people don't
find
talk
that
about.
chain.
That chain's still somewhere, bro. Somebody got it.
I don't know. You think Keefe got it?
But somebody got it. Nah, they would have found that with that raid. Somebody got it though. Somebody got it. But that's the thing. That's what this was all about. You can see it in the Tupac movie. That depiction is right. Dude was like, "Hey, one of them dudes that jumped me in the mall, he's standing over here." Tupac bailed over there, and you can see it in the surveillance.
Yeah, you saw it in the video. Yep, in the surveillance. He was one of the main. He was making a beeline for Orlando.
Right. And he didn't have to do that, bro. That had nothing to do with Tupac.
Right.
And if you look at Orlando's interviews and you look at his uncle's interviews, they was like, bro, like, if the mob would have came over there and did that and Tupac had nothing to do with that, most likely we'd be talking about Suge Knight, not Tupac. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
So Tupac from the East Coast interjected itself in West Coast problems because a lot of people get the West Coast mixed up. Like Compton is only like in each direction, north, south, west, east, or whatever, is only 3 miles apart. So where Suge Knight grew up at, I could ride a bike to his hood. You know what I mean? Like, I live in South, and then people get it twisted. There's no Bloods in Compton. This is the only city and the only place in the entire state of the United States that are considered Pyrus besides Pacoima, where WAC 100 is from. Pyrus originated in Compton. Okay, so when you say blood has nothing to do with Compton. They might say blood, but every hood out here is Pyru. And that's what the mob was. Pyru, Ludus Park Pyru, Fruitown Pyru with Chris Brown, Chris Brown trying to claim and Soulja Boy and all that. Yeah. Which is bullshit, But overall, this entire city is made up of majority of Crips. And all the Pyrus is up Rosecrans, bro. So it's like every hood out here in Compton is Pyrus. So they're not Bloods. And that's what people get it twisted. You got Brims in L.A., which is a part of being Bloods. You got Bloods in L.A. But in Compton, it's Pyrus all day. And Pacoima had Pyrus. You know what I mean? That's where WAC 100 is from. He's Pyru. So, I'm 40, so I've been here a long time. And the thing is, the narrative, it's not complex. It's not complex at all. Well, they got into it with...
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say, speaking of WAC, he put up a post that was kind of insinuating that Bad Boy and Diddy might be involved.
Okay, look, you have to talk to me behind the scenes. I will not do this on your live, bro, because I'm not trying to be a part of that shit. But I can tell you some things that are completely accurate, and WAC is completely accurate. And I've seen things with my own eyes. I just cannot say it.
Right. Listen, that's understandable. But there are people who, again, they are putting stuff out here, not saying, but they're because it's Diddy's still a very influential guy, so I can see why people don't want to go in that direction directly. But it's people are slowly putting it out here in certain subtle ways. And let's just say this: would you be shocked if Diddy was involved?
No, I'm nowhere near shocked. But at the same time, I'm not gonna say what I know. On your live stream, like I'll email you. And, I can talk to you behind the scenes or whatever.
You can email me what you know. It'll be for me to read. For me to know.
Yeah, but I'm not gonna say that on your platform. But I don't disagree with WAC 100 because for one, he grew up. I ain't gonna say he grew up, but he ran with Death Row. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay.
People got WAC 100 twisted because he's from Pacoima. You know what I mean? They got him twisted. Like WAC 100, like he the real deal, the real deal. You know what I mean? Like he ain't nothing to play with. Like it's so many people that lost their lives after Pac died. You know what I mean? You talking about Heron from Ludus Park? Like he had the old school '63 Chevy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, one of his homeboys. I can't think of his name.
Yeah.
Died right after that.
He was from you talking about Gaddafi?
Yeah.
Not Gaddafi. Gaddafi.
Yeah.
I mean, bro, all I can say is what I told you. All that shit was over a death row chain. I'll email you. I'll give you a little more details. You got to keep that confidential.
I mean, listen, this for me. I'm listen. If you send me stuff you don't want me to put out in public, I'm not gonna put out publicly. It'll be for me to see and for me to just have note of, right.
So you can have a better understanding of what was going on. All this was petty, bro. Like literally, there's no conspiracy. There's nothing to that. It was just. Dude had a fight, a brawl in the mall in Lakewood. The death row chain got snatched, and dude happened to see one of the guys that jumped him, or they had a brawl or a fight with in the Lakewood Mall, and Tupac ran to the rescue, and that's ultimately what cost him his life at the end of the day. And people discrediting Keefe. Oh, he on drugs and this and that. Man, this is a 60-year-old man. You know what I mean? When I knew him when he was young, he was nothing to play with. Like, bro, it was like dealing with who was the mafia dude in Untouchables? The movie Untouchables.
Talking about
even though he was a woman.
Talking about Al Capone?
Al Capone. That's what he was over here. But I'll give you a good example, and I'll leave you with this one.
Okay.
There's no leaders to nobody in no West Coast hood. Whack 100 been saying this for a minute. There's no leaders. We have OGs, meaning we respect our elders. Period. So it's like he not the leader. It's a main dude from the South. I'm not gonna say his name.
Okay.
But he's like the main dude. Keefe might have been like the second or third main dude. You get what I'm saying? And we talking about like OG from OG to OG because the dude I'm talking about is older than Keefe. You get what I'm saying? So it's like, when you're dealing with Southsides, it's like, okay, look at it like this. Nipsey Hussle was from Rolling 60s. Right? They got the same logo. They wear the Mariners hat. They got the same colors. So they kind of like the same hoods, just one in L.A. and one in Compton.
Okay.
But the South Sides were known for moving mafia style. And that move was mafia style. And only thing I could tell you was Orlando wasn't standing there for no reason. That's all I can say. You know what I mean? He wasn't standing there for no reason. That was the reason for him.
Well, let me ask you this. I know you said that was going to be the last bit that you was going to, but I want to ask you this quick question before you, before you head off, right? I was listening to Star before I went live, and there was somebody that basically was like, Keefe D basically had Orlando do it because Orlando didn't want to do it. And, Keefe being a big homie wanted him to get back.
That's not what happened. That's not what happened. The only thing I can tell you in that situation, because everybody kind of know it, because Keefe said it, the gun was passed to somebody else. Let me tell you, I know all the people that was in that car, bro. I know them personally.
Okay.
Like, if they was alive, If dude on the passenger side, not the passenger side, on the left side, would open fire, Pac would have been done in the first shot. He'd have been done. His head would have been blown off. That'd have been it. But dude didn't want to do it. And somebody else grabbed the gun, reached over. And that's why the shots looked the way they looked. That's why the tire was flat. That's why you look at the center mass and how if Pac would have leaned forward towards the dash, he would have avoided a lot of them shots. If you look at the bullet holes in that what was it, a 747 at the time, if you look at the bullet holes, if Pac would have just leaned forward, he would have never got hit. I got hit all on his right side, man. His lungs, all that, liver, kidney. He got hit in all vital organs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If he'd have leaned forward, he could have avoided some of that. Would he got hit? Yeah. But if the dude on the left side would actually open fire, they were so close to the car, bro, that he could have just literally one shot just blew Tupac head off. But he got nervous. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, but all I can say is karma's a bitch. It don't matter what happened to you, what goes on.
Right.
The only living person is the one that's getting indicted right now. And shit he had talked, the homies was like, no, bro, when he talked to LAPD and he gave his confession, the same, and people think he talking delusional. He been saying the same thing for the last 15, 18 years.
Yep.
You get what I'm saying? And they gave him immunity, but the immunity in that situation, because what happens is they give you immunity. It doesn't mean you can go out and talk to the public. It's all, what that immunity means is you're open to talk to other law enforcement. So, you know, at the end of the day, when he went on a public rant, and it started with like 4 or 5 years ago when he got on Vlad.
Right. Right.
And they opened up the case from there, and boom, now we are where we are. You know what I'm saying? So the homies try to warn him, like, bro, you already done said what you said. You feel what I'm saying? Like, just be quiet. Like, he could have went on his deathbed in the hospital, wrote a book, didn't release it until he was dead, right? Now, your deathbed is going to be in a hospital. I mean, in the prison.
It's going to be in prison, right? Because he ain't getting out.
He could have just stayed quiet. Nah, bro, like.
They're trying to, they want him to go down for this. And they're going to make sure he does.
I just seen a WAG one, you know, I seen a video with WAG 100. WAG know a lot. He don't know what I know, but WAG know a lot. But he don't know what I know because I still live over here. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
But he was with Death Row, bro. Like, WAG was really with Death Row. Like, he do know a lot. And anytime WAG saying something like you can't discredit him, he do know a lot. And at the end of the day, I got more inside information that there's no way in the world I could put that on YouTube because I'm going to end up in that case.
Yeah.
There's no way in the world.
Yeah. Because, you know, if you did, they be coming at you with paperwork saying you need to testify and all that. You know?
Yeah, subpoenas are no joke, man. Like, I've been subpoenaed to a case. I'll give you an example. I didn't want to testify, man. I started getting pulled over, getting bullshit tickets.
Wow. Yeah.
You know, even put in jail for miscellaneous things because I didn't want to testify because the kid that I was testifying against, he, not testifying against, but they wanted me to testify against. You know, he shot at me and my parents is old, bro. Like, I don't know why he rolled up, but Southside don't get along with a lot of people. A lot of hoods in Compton ain't afraid of them no more. So they bust on us. I ran. I chased him down, you know what I mean, with the police. And at the same time, dude took a deal. There's no paperwork on me. I never testified against them, none of that. But when they subpoenaed me, when he was trying to get released after 12 years, he took a deal for 20 years, and they was going to release him in 12. They was trying to keep him in jail, I guess, because he's involved with other cases. And I'm like, nah, I'm cool. Next thing you know, I'm getting followed by the L.A. County Sheriffs. Next thing you know, I get pulled over on the freeway. They have no jurisdiction on the freeway. Snatch me out the car. Don't say nothing to me. Write me a bull crap ticket, bro. And then didn't show up in the system. So I thought I was cool, but it ended up becoming a warrant. So when you dealing with subpoenas, man, like this is why people in the hood do not want to be involved with law enforcement, because once they subpoena you, they be sticking you with bull crap just to get you to testify.
Right.
And I'm not gonna do it. But I'm gonna definitely go through your page. I'm gonna email you.
Okay.
We can talk behind the scenes. I'm gonna let you know what really happened. I know what really happened.
Okay. Well, like I said, you know, if there's anything that you want to share here, my email is in the description. JayeDeBlackLive. You can send it to me. Just send what you want to. You don't have to tell me what things you don't want to tell me. But if there's something that you want to share,
but look, just keep quiet. Whatever I tell you, just say sources or whatever. But I'm telling you what really happened. I'm telling you what really went down. I know what happened, and the person that killed him is dead himself. That's all I can tell you.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you. Yeah, I appreciate you calling in and sharing. what you know, what you want to share on the show, man. I appreciate you calling in, Todd. Okay.
Okay, no problem, man. I'm gonna get back to your live, man, and check you out.
All right, man. Thanks, man.
All right, no problem, Jay.
All right, peace. All right.
Peace, brother.
Yeah, peace. Shout out to Todd to call in. Let's see. Okay. Sharing some information. Personally, you know, for me, I believe they have the person that they need to have in custody. I think a lot of this, you know, even though there was a lot that led up to what happened, I think Keefe D played an integral role into what happened. And I watched a documentary, I think it was last year maybe, and they spoke about, it was a YouTube documentary, and it was about Orlando, Keefe D, about the what led up to the shooting of Tupac, right? There's a lot going on there. The Diddy element, or the Puff Daddy at the time element with Biggie. They just had a certain elements, and that's why I spoke about Diddy in this stream. Is Keefe gonna be able to provide any type of information that says that Diddy was involved? That's what we're gonna be looking out for, because right now it just looks like it was a sort of, you know, almost like payback, revenge. You know? Yeah, signed a proffer agreement and kept snitching. I mean, that's arrogance. Yeah, Leilani. Yep. Because I'm under the from everything I've seen, they're saying that Orlando Anderson was the guy that did it. Now, there were other people present in that car besides the people that we do know. And according to Todd, you know, there may have been someone else involved in you know, doing this, you know, or the executor, so to speak. You have the person that was going to be at the executor, then you had somebody that actually was the executor. You know, also I saw on Whack 100's documentary. I saw on Whack 100's Instagram that he's gonna do a Orlando Anderson documentary. So maybe Whack 100 is ready to put another possible element to that story, but apparently he's putting out a Orlando Anderson documentary, which is, you know, which is crazy. It really is. Amen. But thank y'all for tuning in. I think that's pretty much it. Shout out to Todd for calling in. Keefe D is he's in custody. I don't know how long. I don't know if it's a situation where he's just going to remain in custody until they take this to trial. We don't know yet, but he's in custody, and we'll see what happens moving forward. But I will be very interested to see how all of this unfolds. I really will. But thank y'all for tuning in. I appreciate y'all tuning in. Shout out to everybody that donated tonight. Shout out to everybody that tuned in, moderators, channel members. Also, you could become a channel member as well. All you have to do is click that join button. Also, you know, follow me on Patreon for extra content that I don't put on YouTube. And follow me on Rumble as well. I'm going to put that Rumble, the live stream channel on Rumble. At some point, I will stream there. At some point, you know. But nonetheless, thank y'all for being here and supporting the show, man. Thank y'all for supporting the show.